Welcome to Opinions from the Armchair. If this show were any more highbrow, it'd be overhead. Today, I review the third installment of the Kung Fu Panda franchise.
You saved China. No, it's the least I can do. You raised me.
In the second film, released in 2011, Po officially learns he is adopted. And while everything gets resolved, the film also ends with this cliffhanger, letting us know that Po's biological father is still alive.
My son is alive.
And after hanging on to that cliffhanger for 5 years, thank you very much Dreamworks, Po and his dad finally meet.
Who are you?
I'm Li Shan. I'm looking for my son.
You lost your son?
Yes. Many years ago.
I lost my father.
I'm very sorry.
Thank you.
Well, good luck to you.
You too. I hope you find your son.
And I hope you find your father.
Meanwhile, Kai, an evil kung fu warrior who was banished to the spirit realm, returns to the mortal world and subsequently threatens it. So, what's it like? Well, it's gotten good reviews, but frankly, I consider it to be the weakest film in the Kung Fu Panda franchise thus far. Now, some of you might say, the franchise is nothing more than a cynical attempt to make money. It's nothing more than high-impact films built around incredible, simply complex concepts, with plenty of fighting and talking animals to keep the kids amused. How could this one possibly be considered weaker? Well, Kung Fu Panda has always risen above other movies of its kind, in my opinion, really using its medium to visualize the fight scenes while blending it with wit, humor, and surprisingly deep character development. Not very deep, but still much more than most family films. And in my humble opinion, all too often the main character of the movie is a bland and completely uninteresting person, while the unimportant sidekicks are much more enjoyable. Po is a rare blend of the wacky bundle of fun and the useful hero. He's a goofball, but at the same time he's a very competent goofball. And admittedly, perhaps it's because Kung Fu Panda has had such a good track record, and the fact that I've waited 5 years for this film is a reason why it felt to me like a disappointment. To my mind, a good sequel keeps what was enjoyable about the first film for the sake of the fans, while at the same time taking the franchise in new directions so it doesn't get repetitive. Kung Fu Panda 3 certainly fulfills the first half with good visuals, Jack Black running around being Jack Black, and fight scenes that are fast-paced yet easy to follow, but instead of going to new places, it feels like it's just retreading old ground. My number one complaint with this movie is actually the central focus of the plot. Early on, Master Shifu points out that to Po that he doesn't know what it means to be the Dragon Warrior, or who he is. Also, Po goes back to his biological father's home to meet other pandas for the first time, but comparing themselves to him, he feels that he doesn't know what it means to be a panda either. So, on top of that, now he has two fathers in his life, and adding to his uncertainty, but with his own identity. What bugged me through the whole film is that Po Po already went through this in the first film and resolved it. He struggled with identity crisis in Kung Fu Panda 2, and at the end he gained enlightenment and that a person's identity isn't defined by his genealogy. But in this film, it's almost like he suffered some kind of panda amnesia and had to go through it all over again. My second complaint is with the film's main villain, Kai.
Kai has returned!
Who?
Kai. General Kai. Supreme Warlord of all China. The Jade Slayer. Master of Pain. You may know me as the Beast of Vengeance. Maker of Widows. Okay, I used to work with Oogway.
Oogway!
My writing teacher taught me that to make a good villain, you have to give his character a reason why he is the way he is. You don't have to give him a full excuse for his actions, just an explanation, something that makes his actions seem justified to him. Evil as he may be, he has to be the hero of his own life. On one end of the villain spectrum, you get the typical one-dimensional Saturday morning cartoon villains who may come across as being too simplistic for more mature viewers, and on the other end you get the complex three-dimensional villains with backstory and character development that explains their actions but may go over the heads of the younger viewers. The Kung Fu Panda franchise, however, seems to have a pudgy furry foot in each camp, and have always set the bar a little higher in terms of villains than the average family film. Tai Lung was a malicious kung fu master obsessed with power and revenge and was determined to destroy anyone who got in his way. But his hunger for power and desire for revenge is attributed to his foster father, Shi Fu, who kept telling him he was destined for greatness and let him down just when he was about to achieve it.
What I ever did, I did to make you proud. Tell me how proud you are, Shifu. Tell me. Tell me.
There's clearly a fool.
Lord Shen may well be described as a peacock Hitler, meaning he's a dictator determined to expand his empire by force, has no problem with exacting genocide on men, women and children because of their species, and even wears the same colour scheme as the Nazis. But we are also shown that he feels wronged by his own parents and that his conquest of China will undo it.
Choose to feel has no bottom. It is time to stop this madness,
Why on earth would I do that?
so your parents can rest in peace.
My parents hated me. Do you understand? They wronged me. And I will make it right.
Kai, however, is perhaps the weakest villain of the entire franchise, not counting the TV show. His backstory is incredibly anemic and vague. We are literally told nothing more than he was some sort of warrior who fought alongside Master Oogway in some sort of war. We are not even told against who. But then Kai learns of some arcane power that could enable him to conquer all of China and decides to do just that. He literally goes from an honourable warrior serving a higher cause to an evil megalomaniac in the space of a few sentences, with nothing at all in his background to explain his motivation. Oogway banishes him to the spirit world to save China until he manages to return and sets out to conquer China and destroy Oogway's legacy. His perceived betrayal by his former brother-in-arms definitely gives him motive for revenge, but since we never saw any kind of bond between them before, it feels rather ineffectual and doesn't serve to explain why he went bad in the first place. And come to think of it, each of the Kung Fu Panda villains is a Kung Fu master who returns from obscurity in search of power and revenge, and are only defeated by Po when he has some sort of epiphany about himself. But still, at least two of them had a bit more to their origins than this. But to be fair, this time the writers seem to want to focus on Poe's emotional journey of self-discovery as he tries to connect with his own kind and long-lost father. So it seems to me that the film simply didn't have enough time to give Kai a more detailed backstory. But I have an idea that could have fixed this problem. Do you remember the whooshy finger hold?
Oh, you know this hold?
You're bluffing. You're bluffing! Shifu didn't teach you that.
Nope. I figured it out. Skadoosh.
I was always frustrated that they never showed exactly what it did to Tai Lung. In this film, the writers added its effect. Apparently, the whooshy finger hold sends a person to the spirit realm, and I thought that if Tai Lung was apparently sent to the spirit realm, and this film is about a villain who comes back from the spirit realm, why not use Tai Lung for the third film's villain? I'm sure the franchise fans would go mad to see him back, and then you wouldn't need to bother with character development because it had already been done in the first film. Now, my third major complaint, or rather disappointment, has to do with the character Tigress. It has long been suspected by the fans that Poe and Tigress are going to become an item. And this is because of lots of very subtle clues in their behaviour. Take this scene from the first film, in which Poe, who is a huge fan of the Furious Five, gets shut out of their kung fu demonstration.
And finally, Master Tigress. Believe me, citizens, you have not seen anything yet. I know!
See how Poe had pretty much given up, but he couldn't resist the chance to see Master Tigress in action? And it only becomes more obvious that he admires her, as a warrior.
You actually thought you could learn to do a full split in one night?
It takes years to develop one's flexibility, and years longer to apply it in combat.
Now in the script, the writers originally called that little souvenir Poe's Love Rock. Now, throughout the first film, Tigress remains cold and disdainful of Poe, and is always intense even at the end when he finally earns her respect as a warrior. In the second film, Poe's admiration is hinted at again.
Vegetables, and I even pack all your action figures.
Hey, I don't know what those are. I've never seen them before in my life.
Dad, you got scratches on my Tigress.
And Tigress is noticeably softer towards Poe.
Poe, why are you really out here?
I just found out that my dad isn't really my dad.
Your dad, the goose.
She appears willing to open up and share with Poe her own feelings of abandonment.
And this bothers you?
Are you kidding me? We're warriors, right? Nerves of steel, souls of platinum. Like you. So hardcore you don't feel anything. Yo, wow.
So what are you guys talking about?
And it's obvious that she cares about him. As a friend.
I have to get to him.
Then tell me why.
He was there, okay? The peacock was there the last time I saw my parents. He knows what happened, where I came from, who I am. Look, I'm going. I have to know. The hardcore can't understand.
Tigress, no!
The hardcore do understand. But I can't watch my friend be killed.
So, if they are developing a romantic relationship, then the filmmakers are doing it very slowly and subtly, and I think that's amazing, because you never see that in films. I think that romantic relationships and movies are incredibly shallow and unrealistic. People go from perfect strangers to a perfect couple literally in a matter of days, if that. So I was really impressed by the care, time, and thought that the writers of Kung Fu Panda films were putting into this, and I was looking forward to maybe finally coming to see it come to fruition in the third film. But there's none of that. In fact, this time around, Tigress's only significant role in the film is to deliver an urgent message to Po in order to move the story along. A job that could have literally been done by any other of the characters. And incidentally, there's a massive plot hole because Tigress delivers that message to Po in a secret village that she couldn't have possibly have known how to find. Incidentally, I saw this new character when they were promoting the film.
Huh?
I am Mei Mei. Wow, she's amazing. She's so beautiful. That's sweet, Po. But please try to save all other compliments until after the performance.
Well, has it started yet?
Look away! Look away! No, you can't, can you?
Dad, why does she keep staring at me like that?
Try to keep up.
I don't really know how to dance.
Of course you do.
Help me, Dad.
Yeah, no, you're on your own.
You're doing great, son.
And I imagined it would turn out that Po and Mei Mei were betrothed to each other as children, and Master Tigress would be less than pleased, and we would have a very juicy and possibly violent love triangle. That incidentally would have contributed to the overall story. But it turns out Mei Mei does absolutely nothing for the overall story, aside for exactly 2 awkward moments with Po, and the only reason for creating her that I can imagine was so Dreamworks would have another action figure to sell. On top of that, the film is all about Po growing into his role as the Dragon Warrior and fulfilling the prophecy. Excuse me, didn't he already do that at the end of the first film? And since when has there been a prophecy? And why aren't we, the viewers, informed of what the prophecy actually says? I believe the Star Wars prequels demonstrated that if a prophecy is very important to the overall story, it is beneficial to the audience to actually know what the actual content is. Yeah, come to think of it, Kung Fu Panda 3 feels more like Kung Fu Panda 2, meaning it's about Po resolving his issues of his origins and being adopted, growing into his role as the Dragon Warrior, and there are several jokes that are directly lifted from the first film. It's almost as if, after the unexpected success of the first film, Dreamworks had 2 identical ideas for a sequel and decided to do them both, hoping no one would notice. Oh, and incidentally, potential spoiler. A main focus of the story is a quest to find some arcane power of Chi. But not only does it count for very little throughout the course of the story, but at the last minute it turns out that mastering this ancient, difficult, long-lost technique is literally as easy as doing this and thinking a happy thought. So, on the whole, if you loved Kung Fu Pandas 1 and 2 and wanted more of the same wit, action, humour, then this film certainly provides. But if you also wanted a film that provides originality by further developing the characters, taking the franchise in new directions, and maybe finally getting a big kiss scene between Poe and Tigress, you'll be left sorely disappointed.
Again!
For me at least, I went into the cinema expecting fresh hot dumplings and was instead served with lukewarm leftovers. Tasty, well-animated leftovers, sure, with plenty of the original flavour, but I didn't want leftovers, I wanted something fresh. But on a positive note, this film hasn't killed the franchise, as another 3 films have already been planned. So, here's hoping that when they make Kung Fu Panda 4, they'll have learned that when you raise the bar, people expect you to jump over it. Tune in next time for more Opinions from the Armchair.